Development and organisation of sport. This is 13.3 current issues in sport by Ewan Cochrane. So the development of sports activities. So before sporting activities came about as a hobby during Henry VIII and the Tudor times, it was used to battle against other countries to stay alive and also for hunting. If you didn't hunt with your bow and arrow, then you would just die. Then after in the 21st century and the 20th century came along archery, which is now a hobby, which people do take part in within the Olympics, and is to test how accurate you are with your bow and arrow. Henry VIII then, as I said, was very keen of sport. He loved hunting and he loved to play tennis and that in his spare time, and he was quite a gambler. And during this time, the upper class betted on their footmen to win races against other upper people classes footmen, and they used to be very drunk as well. And then came along the Puritans. The Puritans banned sport. They did not like the fact that people were not sober, and they also banned betting as they did not agree with it. Then came along Charles II, who restored sport as it was and brought back gambling and wagering and drinking, as he felt that was part of the game. So, the 19th century public schools and sports, what were they like? Stage 1, the barbarian stage. Stage 2, the Arnoldian stage. And stage 3, athleticism stage. So within stage 1, it basically all started where loads of students, boys particularly, were going to boarding schools. Boarding schools were harsh, society was harsh at the time, and this is the stage of pre-change. So at the time there was a lot of bullying. The masters were very strict. They used to have canes, and the boys at the boarding school were very independent and did their own things. They all came from different areas of different villages at the time, and they all would have been introduced to the sport mob football. Mob football was literally just a game of swarm ball with no rules other than no murder, but they would have all had different rules as to how it was played. So this would have caused a lot of arguments and disrespect and a lot more bullying as people were different. So then in came the Clarendon Report, which improved living conditions, and the masters respected their students almost like fatherly figures, and there was also more holidays for the pupils to go back home. Stage 2. Dr. Thomas Arnold introduced rules into these sports, such as mob football. This enabled less bullying and students to get along, and there not to be miscommunications and things like this, so the sport was played out fairer. And then there was development of facilities, and then in came regular inter-house games, and it helped produce young fit males within the school. And inter-house games, they had, say, a yellow team, a red team, and a blue team, and a green team, as shown below, and they would go against each other within the school. It helped improve behaviour across all academic subjects, not just within sport. Helped improve fitness of these pupils, and national governing bodies were made by the old players. So this is how national governing bodies came about. Stage 3, athleticism stage. So the British Empire was around at the time, and it was, it had control over many countries around the world, like the West Indies, Australia. It was huge. So ex-school boys were now becoming factory leaders, industrialists, and possibly even masters and teachers themselves, and possibly leaders to the government. So these guys all came together and influenced other countries and children around the world to start playing these sports. And this is when sport became on a global scale of where the rules all came into balance. And this was called the cult of athleticism. So now the whole world knew these rules and these sports, and they all played the same way. The modern Olympics was introduced after the ancient Olympics games in 776 BC through to 393 AD stopped. These two amazing men came along to bring back what was love for the sports. So you have Dr. William Pennybrooks, shown on the left, and Pierre de Coubertin, shown on the right. Excuse my French. They arranged it, and they arranged this to promote health and well-being, as they believed that. They came along, and their intentions was to promote health and well-being, and they wanted it to show joy and effort, and they wanted it to be fair play, so they could see which country was the better. And it was very similar to the Cotswold Games. So, what was amateurism and professionalism like in the 19th century? In fact, it was very, very different as to what it is in the 21st. So, the gentlemen amateurs and the working class professionals. So the gentlemen amateurs did take part for fun. They weren't getting paid for it. The working class professionals, on the other hand, were getting paid because they had less free time, and it wasn't so much a hobby, it was part of their job. As I said, they got paid, the others were wealthy, so they didn't need the money. However, the working class did need money, therefore they did get paid as professionals. So the pros looked down upon the working class. The pros were looked down upon by the amateurs, the gentlemen, the higher class, and class determined what level you would go into, whether you were a working class professional needing money and got paid, or whether you were an amateur and didn't get paid. So that was very confusing. In comparison to the 21st century, we have amateurs and professionals. So nowadays, the amateurs, we play for fun. I'm an amateur, so I play football for fun. Whereas professionals, it's their job. That is what they go. That's what they get paid to do. That's their work. Whereas amateurs do not get paid, and professionals, they get paid a ridiculous amount of money within football. A footballer, for example, like Wayne Rooney, will be on £250,000 a week just to play football, which obviously he must love. Whereas, for example, myself, I'll play football every weekend and train a few days a week where I don't get paid at all. So, however, the amateurs could do with getting paid. I'd love to get paid a bit of money. It would be very nice help, as it's an addition to job and it does take up free time. Whereas professionals, they don't really need the money, but they still get it, and they're just extremely minted with money and quite arrogant, some of them. And salary now and ability determines which one you fall to. So ability, if you were insanely good at a sport, you would be a professional in comparison to an amateur. So the sports development pyramid. So it starts off with foundation, and this is where you'll be playing sport in PE or maybe doing an after-school club. It doesn't really matter so much about winning within participation. Same within foundation, you're just going there for a bit of fun. Participation, you play for a team and you're training with them, so you're all getting to know each other and make a few friends. Performance, this would be like county level or playing for an academy to go off to one of these huge clubs and become a professional. And elite is a professional. You play for a top club, for example, like Tottenham Hotspur, quality team, and you'll be getting paid a lot of money. As you can see, it starts off very wide at the bottom, and this basically shows the amount of people, I guess you could say. So as you get up, the amount of people becomes less and less. Mass participation organisations. So this would be Department for Digital Culture, Media and Sport. What is their role? Their role is to drive growth, enrich lives and promote Britain abroad. They achieve this through setting up games and events for young children and involve and try to educate them in these new sports. And they're particularly funded by the National Lottery. Their strategies are to promote games for people with all abilities and to promote opportunities. So this is Sport England. Sport England again is sponsored by the lottery, and they encourage mass participation and they want people of any ability to take part. So they're increased targeting 14 to 25-year-olds and 60 plus. That's where they believe people need to be playing sport to keep fit. You have a youth sport trust. This is a national charity and they look for a brighter future, encourage young people up to 18 to start sport, and they also encourage high quality PE at school. They develop leadership skills. They concentrate on other academic studies as well. And finally, national governing bodies. Every sport has one. They're central into running the sport, as they do come up with the rules, the code of conduct, and they love to promote their sport as it means they'll get more money. So sporting excellence, on the other hand, we do have another national governing body. Everyone has them, but they do focus to find the best players. They want their countries to do well, to get more money. The British Olympic Association, also known as BOA, privately funded. They're independent. Their aim is to inspire the nation with Olympic athletes and lead GB to the best sports performers. 1 in 5 since 1896, every Olympics. They have high-end facilities, as they want to be shown and seen as the best across the world. UK Sport, their strategy, they set up plans, and they host events like the Olympics and World Cups. They put things in place to support these people who want to become professionals, and it is a world-class pathway into becoming a professional, and a lot of money is involved within this. Active Sussex, this is a local one to where we live in Sussex, but they have a network of local agencies, and they work together to increase numbers of sporting activity. They have programs to help improve these players, and national governing bodies of sports will also help these smaller things. So, we have how football originated and developed. So actually it started in 2000 BC, and this was the Chinese military forces playing a sport called Su Chu. Excuse that, but that's what I've got. And this was basically kicking a leather ball stuffed with fur into a hole, and similarly to modern day football, no hands were allowed. So the first real signs of the legendary sport in Britain was in the 700 AD, and it was kicking a Danish prince's head after they just defeated them in war, and it was very violent, and death wasn't a surprise. 1331 after death, King Edward III bans football. Despite the love for the game across the whole country and the violence, he did ban it. 1500 AD, Italy play a game called Calcio. This game involved kicking, carrying, or passing a ball across a goal line. This is where football starts to become very, very similar, except for the fact you can use your hands. But they did have rules, so everyone did stick to the same thing, and there was no cheating. 1605, football became legal again in Britain. Whey! So this is where you start to see it change again. And in 1863, after death, 11 schools, so Football Association was formed. 11 London schools met in Freemasons Tavern, and they produced a single set of rules. And the first ever game with rules on the 19th December took place, and the game finished 0-0. 1869 AD, no more handballs were allowed, so no handling of the ball. 1872, the first international match was taken place between England versus Scotland in Glasgow. So, 1888, the introduction of the penalty kick was introduced. 1900 was the first time it was played at the Olympics. So, as I said, it was known worldwide as the national governing bodies and the British Empire took control and introduced it across the world. And then, what have I done here? In 1330, the Fédération Internationale de Football Association, also known as FIFA, held soccer's first football World Cup tournament in Montevideo, Uruguay, and it had 13 teams, so it wasn't very many compared to the national like today. And then in 1966, England did win the World Cup in England. And this is so-called a British game, however, history says otherwise. Thank you. This is my bibliography, and cheers for watching.